my name is Gabby and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here then welcome to my channel, and today's video is going to be my March 2026 reading wrap-up. So March was kind of all over the place for me in terms of reading. I completed a readathon, I read 3 random manga series for another video, but because of that and also just like life and other hobbies, all of the reads that I came into this month with were basically put aside, and that includes the manga series that I am usually caught up to. So now I'm behind on that, but that is something for me to tackle on a different day because there are a lot of other things to talk about right now. I will have the content warnings I can find linked down below in the description along with links to some resources, and let's go ahead and get into it. Starting with volume 2 of Delicious in Dungeon by Ryoko Kui. And Delicious in Dungeon follows our main character and his party after they are defeated by a dragon that they ran into deep inside of the dungeon. This is a battle that leaves them without money, supplies, and a party member who many of them are very much determined to get back and save, but they have no money and they have no food, which leads our main character to come up with the idea to eat the monsters that they will face along their journey. So my thoughts on the series kind of just haven't changed here, but I will say there were some storylines in this volume that I liked a lot more in the manga than I did when I watched them in the anime. And I do think that that is mostly just a pacing thing. I spent a lot less time with them while reading the manga than I did watching the anime. And that's not to say that I didn't like them when I watched the anime, but I think I just didn't like them as much as I like some of the other stories. What I do think that this does almost fully solidify for me right now is that I do think that I may be right about me somehow loving the manga more than I love the anime. As while I love the anime, I've been really able to settle into the manga and get lost in it in a different way, and part of that I think is because I do know and love the characters and the comedy from the anime. So there is a level of comfort here, like revisiting these stories in the manga. I think that that feeling is just really resonating with me here, along with just like my general love for like their fantasy aesthetic. But I am definitely really looking forward to continuing on with this series, hopefully soon. And then we have my first audiobook of the month, which is a Two-Spirit Journey, the autobiography of a lesbian Ojibwe Cree elder by Mane Shakabi. And this is a memoir that accounts Mane Shakabi's life and experiences. And I originally read this for the Trans Rights Readathon for the Two-Spirit, Indigiqueer, and Indigenous Gender Expansive Representation prompt, but soon after I finished it, the Trans Rights Readathon did correct the recommendations list for this prompt so that no longer includes cis Two-Spirit authors, as not all Two-Spirit people identify as trans, and that does include Mane Shakabi. So we will be coming back to this prompt later on in the video, but while this book does not qualify for the readathon, I am still really glad that I listened to it, and I left this audiobook feeling a lot of respect and gratitude for the author for sharing her story. And her story and experiences are definitely not always an easy listen. There's abuse, SA, alcoholism, loss, trauma, other things. And you can really feel the endurance there as well, as she has faced and experienced all these things and got to where she is at the end of the memoir, and just her kindness and outreach to others throughout the entire memoir. This audiobook also highlighted the importance of elders and talked about people who have two spirits and the different forms and ways people live it. So yeah, this is my first memoir of the year, and the genre is off to a very strong start for me for sure. And then we have volumes 3 and 4 of Boys Run the Riot by Keito Gaku. And Boys Run the Riot follows our main character who knows that he is transgender, but he doesn't have anyone that he can tell, and the only times that he feels at ease are when he's wearing his favorite clothes. And while out shopping one day, he runs into the new kid in his class who everyone thinks is just another bully based on his appearance. Our main character doesn't expect to see him there and is surprised to find out that they have the same taste in fashion, and together they start a journey that may finally give our main character a way that he can express himself to the world. So I read volume 3 for the Trans Rights Readathon for a book about trans plus youth, or that imagines trans futures prompt, and then I read volume 4 right afterwards because I wanted to. I definitely liked both of these volumes more than volume 2, which I did leave a little bit lower on this series after reading volume 1 because I loved and adored volume 1 so much. And there were parts of volume 2 that definitely made some of volume 3 a little bit more difficult, but I will say volume 3 definitely had an interesting storyline, and I could see how the events of volume 2 helped contribute to that, even if I'm still not like fully over it. But volume 3 also has a very nuanced take on gender and sexuality that I really appreciated. It also talked a lot about coming out and outing, and we got a lot of really cool moments of our main character just being out and existing as himself, no matter what anyone may say or may think, which is one of my favorite parts of this series as a whole, and it's a sentiment that is really just present in everything that they do. I love how it reflects and combines with the characters' art and passion and design. And you can really feel the characters' love and passion for what they're doing, which really does take center stage in volume 4 as it dives into like the more business and and career side of things. When it comes to their clothing brand and the fashion industry, it is also the final volume of this whole series, which did hurt me when I realized that, because while this is the intended ending, it definitely felt like the series was just at the beginning for me, and there was so much potential for it to go longer. And I do kind of wish they did, but I still really love this series. The more that I think about it, the more I realize just how much that I love and appreciate it. And it's not perfect, but it does have a special place in my heart, and my final rating for Boys Run the Riot is 4.5 out of 5 stars. So we're now at the point in the month where I read 3 random manga series for a different video, which I will have linked down below in the description if you want my full thoughts on these series. But first we have Parhelion by Knopf, and this is a one-shot that is set in a doomed world, and they need to find somebody who is blessed by the dragon who will save the world. This is a one-shot, and again, it did feel like it could have been longer, and it was just very short, very simple, very much felt like the first chapter of a series that doesn't exist. What it does have is a prequel that I haven't read. I may in the future, may not, but yeah, for now, this is a 3-star for me. I liked it, but it was so basic and simple and short that it is kind of hard for me to have like too many thoughts or feelings about it. And then we have Not Simple by Natsume Ono. And this follows Ian, who has a fractured family history and his travels from Australia to England to America through the narrative of another character named Jim who wants to capture Ian's experiences in a novel. Now this is one that I do have a lot of feelings about. I love the structure of this. The first chapter starts at the end of the story, and you spend the rest of the series just filling in the blanks of how we got there. And there is so much darkness here, and it got darker with each reveal. Like, I did not leave this series feeling good, which part of that is because I was really invested in it, and combined with the structure, the chapters just really flew by because I needed to know everything about this, and I ended up giving this 4 out of 5 stars. And then we have volumes 1 and 2 and chapters 8 to 10.2 of Princess Resurrection Nightmare by Yasunori Mitsunaga, and this follows the Princess of Monsters. She wields a chainsaw and has an android, werewolf, vampire, and blood warrior at her service. So this is a spin-off slash reboot of the original Princess Resurrection series, of which I have not read or watched. But honestly, I think I pretty much got away with it here, and I do think that that is because of the amnesia trope, which is either a really convenient way for them to reboot the series, or a cool mysterious element to the reboot, or maybe it's both. I don't know. But while there is like a larger plotline hanging over this series, it was otherwise pretty episodic, so the amount that I enjoyed this really just depended on what the storyline was for that set of chapters or what they were doing. But I never really minded reading any of this, and there were stories in here that I genuinely enjoyed and had a good time with, and I do think that the series has some really good horror and creatures. I thought the tone of it was interesting, because while it is horror and brutal and violent at times, the tone also didn't feel that serious at the same time, but it wasn't necessarily like comedy either. Like, the vibe is just very spin-off. I don't know how else to describe it. I don't know if I'll ever come back to this one or if I'll ever check out the original series, but I've definitely read much worse than this for sure. Which brings us back to the trans rights readathon, and for the book that I read for the Two-Spirit, Indigiqueer, and Indigenous Gender Expansive Representation prompt, and that is Care Work Dreaming Disability Justice by Leah Lakshmi Piepshna Samrasinghe. And this is a collection of essays from the author as they explore the realities and politics of disability justice, which is a movement that centers the lives and leadership of sick and disabled queer, trans, black, and brown people. There is a lot of love woven into this book, and you can really feel it within each essay. I also really love the way that it highlighted the importance of community and the work that sick and disabled queer and people of color are doing to find and support one another. I also really appreciated how this book talked about access and provided a lot of insight that I do feel like has expanded upon my own knowledge and ways of thinking. And I definitely think I'll be reading more from this author in the future. And then we have my final read of the Trans Rights Readathon, which is a trans plus book featuring joy slash love slash resistance. And for that, I read Light from Uncommon Stars by Rika Aoki. And this follows Shizuka Satomi, who in order to escape damnation must convince 7 violin prodigies to trade their souls for success. She has convinced 6 people so far and is searching for her final candidate when she meets a young transgender runaway whose talent catches her ear. And she also meets a retired starship captain turned donut shop owner. And all 3 of their lives become entangled in a story of curses, identity, hope, and family. So I currently have 16 tabs in this book, which I do think like has to be some sort of new record for me. But yeah, this book has been on my TBR for a really long time, and it was one that I always thought I was going to really love. Like, potential favorite book of whatever year that I read it in, but at least a 5-star read. So for a very long time, I was just building up what I thought that this book would be in my head, and it was different different, but the love that I felt for it was the same and also so much more at the same time. I loved the writing style. It was refreshing and super charming and honestly kind of comforting. Like, I was instantly immersed and settled into this in a way where I was like, oh, this is going to be a book that I am going to come back to for the rest of my life. There are also just like very key and important violin playing scenes that really hit me. Like, they felt so intense and also added to like the character growth and exploration, and they made me feel genuinely like so emotional. One, because I love Katrina and this applies to her and I felt very attached to her, but there was also so much relatability in those scenes as well, and it really resonated with me. The characters in this book felt instantly iconic. There's a lot about this book that felt that way. And there are just so many strong visuals and like moments of humor and love that mix with like complex actions and behaviors, because it can also get dark and messy as well. And there are also just like these moments of found family and relationships in here that genuinely meant so much to me. And I also love this blend of fantasy and sci-fi and contemporary, and yeah, it was fun, it was intense, it was emotional, and I loved basically every second that I spent with it. And it's weird because I feel like I don't know how to properly talk about this book, but I also don't really know how I am ever going to stop talking or thinking about it. And I don't know if I fully wrapped my head around just like how much of a favorite this book is to me quite yet, because it is such a recent read. But yeah, it is definitely a 5-star read for me for sure. Okay, so that is everything that I read in March. Thank you all so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and answer the question that'll be around here if you want to do that. And hopefully I will see you here next time. Bye.